जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेव टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। थैंक यू ऑल। बहुत सारे लोग अभी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, ज्वाइन कर चुके हैं। थैंक यू ऑल। सॉरी वी स्टार्टेड 2 मिनट्स लेट। थोड़ा सा हम एक डिस्कस कर रहे थे यार। ग्लोबल जियोपॉलिटिक्स और ग्लोबल ऑर्डर इतना बड़ा सब्जेक्ट है, क्या क्या बात करें इसके अंदर। तो हमने सोचा चलो एक कॉन्वर्सेशन शुरू करते हैं एंड देखते हैं कहाँ जाती है। बिकॉज अरिंदम साहब जो आज हमारे साथ, आई थिंक दिस इज द थर्ड पॉडकास्ट ही इज डूइंग विद अस, जो आज हमारे
And
साथ ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं। he writes pretty very good articles. पिछला वाला आर्टिकल इन्होंने भेजा है कि इज भारत राइज टू लेट। एक क्वेश्चन इन्होंने, एक सवाल पूछा वेयर वी स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पॉडकास्ट। तो आइए आज देखते हैं व्हाट इज द गेम इन द वर्ल्ड, कहाँ पर दुनिया जा रही है। लेकिन वहां जाने से पहले एक छोटी सी जंग हुई थी, एक छोटा सा वॉर हुआ था आर्मेनिया अजरबैजान में। मतलब जब तक न्यूज आई, जब तक कंप्यूटर पे गूगल सर्च किया, तब तक वॉर खत्म। वी नीड टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट हैपेंड हियर। इसका क्या कनेक्शन है ग्लोबल जियोपॉलिटिक्स से, क्योंकि दिस इज वन एरिया जहां पर जो साइड्स ऑपोजिट हैं वो साथ में हैं, और जो साइड साथ में है वो ऑपोजिट है। तो ये बड़ा क्रेजी सा सिनेरियो है। सो आइए चला बात करते हैं। नमस्कार साहब, वेलकम टू द शो वंस अगेन।
Namaskar, and Namaskar to all your viewers. Thank you for having me. So, what
प्लेजर्स
we
माइन।
start with Azerbaijan.
व्हाट हैपेंड हियर यार, एक दिन में मतलब शुरू होती है एंड इट जस्ट फिनिश्ड ऑफ। व्हाट हैपेंड हियर?
Actually, see, the first point is that Azerbaijan, Armenia, the
हाँ।
Caucasian region is the soft underbelly of Soviet Union. People usually think Central Asia to be the soft underbelly, but Central Asia is much under control as far as the administration and as far as the economics and their day in day out activities are concerned. Caucasus still is on the boil. Caucasus has been boiling for a really long time, and it's an incredibly complex region as far as ethnicities and linguistic groups and religion and etc. Even
बहुत डाइवर्स है,
territorial,
हाँ। बहुत ज्यादा डाइवर्स है।
extremely. It's not diverse. It's complex. It's complicated.
हम्म।
Sorry, it's
हम्म।
absolutely complicated. Now, Caucasus के ऊपर West का design starts during the 17th or the 18th century. I think we did cover that briefly when we did talk about the
पिछली
reason
बारी में।
behind creation of Pakistan. Yeah. So they know that this is Russia's backyard, natural backyard, because Russia extends till Caucasus. So abhi ke din mein, if you look at it from the point of view of Ukraine, they're trying to create problems across Russia's eastern border in Ukraine. They would that they would be trying to create a problem in Russia's southern border in Caucasus is a done deal. Coming to Armenia and Azerbaijan, there is this small little territory in Azerbaijan, which was an Astark territory, which is called Nagorno-Karabakh, NK for short. So Nagorno-Karabakh was wanted to be free during the time this Soviet Union implosion happened. But because it is in it is a part of the Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan, there was but Nagorno-Karabakh में रहते कौन है? Basically Armenians रहते हैं.
हाँ जी।
It is a geography which exists within Azerbaijan, but Armenians live there. So Armenia and Azerbaijan had a war between them at the time Russia imploded. This first war, which is known as the first Nagorno-Karabakh war, was won by Armenia. They claimed Nagorno-Karabakh.
पूरा ले लिया
कुछ
था, हाँ।
दिन बाद, हाँ, पूरा ले लिया था. Mid 90s, end 90s, Nagorno-Karabakh said that we want semi-autonomy, and both these parties, Azerbaijan and Armenia, they were okay with it, and ये semi-autonomy पे इनके चलता रहा. चलता रहा. 2020 में I think Azerbaijan hit. Okay, and when they hit, they captured a lot of territory in and around Nagorno-Karabakh region. They also snatched away a part of Nagorno-Karabakh region. The issue now that we face, or this region faces, is that Azerbaijan wants to go all out, and Azerbaijan wants to take the entire territory. Armenia can't do much because आर्मेनिया का एक प्रॉब्लम आ गया इस बीच में. आर्मेनिया का ये एक प्रॉब्लम है. आर्मेनिया's leader, which is this guy, this Pashinyan. Now Pashinyan is a Trojan horse. Pashinyan came to power through a color revolution. आपको तो
हाँ
पता है कलर रेवोल्यूशन कराते कौन है? तो पशिन्यान इज भयंकर प्रो वेस्ट, ठीक है? सो
जेलेंस्की का
द
बड़ा भाई है वो।
हाँ, बोल सकते हो। सो द
हम्म,
सिचुएशन इज सच, अभी if you want a bird's eye view, the situation is such: you have a Azerbaijan which is drawing 60% of its weapons from Israel, which is a Western country, which is very thick with it's Shia Muslim country, Azerbaijan, but they're very thick with Sunni Turkey. They're very good friends because Turkey ka territorial ambition hai, because Erdogan is also thinking of an empire state and Azerbaijan is like his immediate vicinity. So if he wants, he can. He always wants that kind of a cultural influence, sort of soft influence on Azerbaijan. So ये लोग के साथ Azerbaijan का, plus there is another thing, that BTC pipeline, that non-starter pipeline, Baku
हम्म,
Tbilisi Xi'an pipeline, that runs through that. तो इसमें Azerbaijan has become very friendly with Turkey. Azerbaijan is very friendly with Israel, both pro-West. Armenia, ideally, which is ideally a Eastern Christian country, naturally had a Russia to seek support from, and strangely, Shia Iran was helping Armenia. But with this, Shia Azerbaijan ke against me, Shia Iran is helping Eastern Christian Armenia. So
आर्मेनिया।
that is where, this is where the entire religious equation goes for a toss. The issue here is that you have this Trojan horse, Pashinyan, जिसने पिछले 3 साल में he what he has done he is deliberately worked to weaken नागोर्नो काराबाख। उसमें कोई मिलिट्री डेवलपमेंट, उसमें कोई डिफेंस डेवलपमेंट कुछ नहीं करा है उसने। जो प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा था उसको इसने बंद करा दिया। अब a couple of days back he has come out and he has said कि if Azerbaijan wants to take away Nagorno Karabakh, let them take it away. We don't have a problem. We cannot do anything about it. So you have an Armenian leader who's willingly waiting for Azerbaijan to take off this territory, which Azerbaijan probably would. The problem here is that you have two parties, Azerbaijan and Armenia. One is openly pro-West, and one is not pro-West. It was pro-West for a short period of time when it went through that color revolution and when it elected Pashinyan, and then they immediately realized that we've been made fools out of this entire color revolution and Pashinyan is an idiot, he is a Trojan horse. But अभी कुछ करने का नहीं है, अभी there are छोटा मोटा इधर उधर का demonstration and these things are happening, but उसमें कोई कुछ effect होने वाला नहीं है. Now Iran and Russia are in the back foot, because even if they want to help Armenia, they probably have their limits. Why? तो ईरान का 25% पॉपुलेशन ऑफ ईरान इज अजरी, तो अगर वहां पे भी कलर रेवोल्यूशन चालू कर दे, ईरान इज हेविली सैंक्शन, ईरान का लिमिट्स है ना, मैन्यूवरेबिलिटी, उसका रिगल स्पेस बहुत कम है।
कम है, हाँ हाँ।
Russia wants to help Azerbaijan on the account of them being Orthodox Christians, but you've got a leader who is so hopelessly pro-West. He is looking at West to resolve his problem with Azerbaijan, this Pashinyan guy. So, long story short, this is where we stand as far as Caucasus is concerned, and this is just one area of Caucasus. And then once this gets over, there's nothing that stops from other regions of Caucasus from flaring
Blowing
up.
up.
And this would all be orchestrated because masala hai wahan pe. You already have hundreds of years old of ethnic and territorial and religious fault lines. तो उसमें किसी में भी आप पिन मार दो तो आपको एक और अच्छा खासा प्रॉब्लम मिल जाएगा. द आइडिया इज टू कीप कॉकेशस फेस्टरिंग, लाइक द सेम वे द आइडिया इज टू कीप ईस्ट यूरोप फेस्टरिंग. आज यूक्रेन, कल को यूक्रेन का वॉर को अगर स्पिल ओवर करके बेलारूस में डाला, परसों अगर ट्रांसनिस्ट्रा में डाला,
जॉर्जिया बैठा है,
जॉर्जिया में डाला, कुछ भी करके इफ यू कैन काइंड ऑफ स्प्रेड इट एंड कीप रशियाज ईस्ट एंड बर्निंग, कीप रशिया साउथ एंड बर्निंग, उधर से कीप ताइवान बर्निंग. सो बेसिकली अगेन United States is extracting the advantage of being located across two oceans, in the middle of two oceans, where geographically you can't touch them, and you have Europe and you have Asia and you have so many feudal structures in this landmass, and लगाओ एक दूसरे में झगड़ा लगा करते रहे.
तो हमने ये पिछली बार ही बात करी थी, we had talked about this thing called doorstep war. ठीक है, हमने ये बात करी थी कि पिछली बारी हर कोई आपका एक जो भी है, कोई आपका एनिमी है, उसके दरवाजे के बाहर एक थोड़ा सा छोटी सी आग लगा लो तो वो वहां पर बसा रहेगा. ही विल नॉट बी एबल टू डू मच आफ्टर दैट.
Yes.
इसके अंदर आप देखो, अगर आप यूक्रेन में भी देखो क्या हो रहा है, आई मीन इफ यू सी व्हाट दे हैव बीन एबल टू डू इज बेसिकली, आपने यूरोप, जो पुराना यूरोप था, जर्मनी, फ्रांस, जो पावरफुल यूरोप था, उसके ऊपर आपने एक ये फट्टा सा बिठा दिया है, विच इज यूक्रेन। अभी आप देखो, पोलैंड इज ब्रेकिंग रैंक्स। बहुत लोग बोलते हैं, पिछली बारी हमारा जो थर्सडे नाइट को यूक्रेन और हम लोग उस रीजन की बात करते हैं, उसके अंदर हमने एक चीज जनरल प्रदीप सिंह ने बताई थी कि यार ये पोलैंड क्यों कर रहा है, क्योंकि पोलैंड वांट्स टू गेट इनसाइड यूक्रेन एंड टेक द ईस्ट। तो ये तो पता ही है, उनका
या
नजर तो काफी टाइम पे है, तो पोलैंड को
या
बिल्ड कर रहा है इस टाइम पे। इससे अगर आप देखो, वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर की अगर आप बात करें, यहाँ पर भी अर्मेनिया अजरबैजान के अंदर भी देखो उल्टा काम क्या है। अभी यूएस फोर्सेस वर ट्रेनिंग विद अर्मेनियंस। अर्मेनिया इज अ पार्ट ऑफ सीएसटीओ। तो ये तो बड़ा अजीब सा सिस्टम है। तो मेरे को जो यूरोपियन ऑर्डर में मेरे को दिख रहा है कि पुराना जो अर्स्टवाइल यूरोप था ना, जो पुराना यूरोप था, उसको भी नीचे बिठाया जा रहा है। दैट्स समथिंग दैट आई कैन सी। आप व्हाट डू यू से? एंड एक नया यूरोप निकलेगा बाहर, विच इज पोलैंड, विच इज फिनलैंड, विच इज स्वीडन। क्योंकि अगली जो आपकी जंग होगी वो आर्कटिक में होगी। तो नॉर्दर्न स्टेट्स को अभी डेवलप किया जा रहा है, जो ईस्टर्न सदर्न यूरोप, उसको अभी चलो यार हो गया तुम्हारा काम।
And
व्हाट
Eastern
डू यू से?
Europe would be Eastern, yeah, you're right, absolutely. Eastern Europe would be the stage for a proxy war. Eastern Europe is going to be the one that would supply the proxy warriors, whether they are mercenaries or whether they are regular armies. Eastern Europe is the new Europe for USA. Western Europe तो मर गया क्योंकि Western Europe has been too stable and too complacent for too long a period of time, and this does not help. Well, they've had a very nice trading block and they've had a very good thing going over the past 50-60 years, but they have lost that will, they have lost that appetite to face Russia. The problem, ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता अगर रशिया मर गया होता सोवियत यूनियन के बाद, ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता. But the fact is, it took Russia, it took Putin barely 10 to 12 years to revive Russia after Yeltsin. And that's the problem which these guys are facing now. And now Russia, and there is a whole lot of story behind this Putinization of Russia, the kind of chess move that Russia made in order to gain prominence back once again after being so badly shaken down and so badly after imploding so badly. The thing is, अगर रशिया नहीं रहता इतना पावरफुल तो फिर यूएसए would have been very happy with West Europe today, because they're your model citizens. Okay, they don't have an army, they don't have
इजी टू
anything. They're
कंट्रोल,
just
हाँ।
absolutely, they complete under control. They're under complete control. कुछ नहीं है वो लोग का. They don't have the authority to take a decision. सब कुछ में अप्रूवल के लेके यूएस के पास जाते हैं. They're your ideal satellite state. So US had every reason to be happy with them. The problem is that if Russia starts growing, and it's again a geopolitical reality comes in on the face and hits you on the face, which is that, boss, geography wise, you've got a Europe, West Europe that exists beside Russia. And if they're not up to the challenge, then who's up to the challenge? Okay, so you have a belligerent Poland, you have a guy in Zelensky, or you have somebody in Georgia, you have जिसको भी मिला, कजाकिस्तान मिला तो उसको लाओ, अजरबैजान आर्मेनिया मिला तो उसको लाओ, हंगरी मिला तो, या पोलैंड मिला या रोमानिया मिला उसको लाओ. So, and the Eastern European states do have this certain amount of anti-Russian sentiment in them because they were a part of the Iron Curtain and they have their own Purana agenda for which they don't like Russia, Poland being one of them. And Poland's biggest, problem with Russia is that the Polish population was basically Sovietized. Uska religion ले लिया गया था. Poland is a hardcore Catholic country. One reason why it doesn't give a shit about all these illegal immigrants, and it says that the prime minister of Poland goes on record and says कि बस हमको नहीं लेना है, तुम अपना इमिग्रेंट लेके बैठो West Europe को. So Poland is an upcoming power. So in central / East European countries, United States has found a strange set of allies that don't like Russia and that are willing to go to a war with Russia. अभी when push comes to shove, कितना कुछ होता है ये देखने लायक है. But they do have them, and United States doesn't want a full-fledged war. It wants proxy war. Why war at your doorstep? So for them, yeah, Western Europe is of no importance. In fact, Western Europe से तो industry भी लेके भाग रहे हैं ये लोग. which is one more reason which we would cover in that in global liberal order when we eventually talk about it.
तो अभी so we've kind of seen the politics in Europe, हमने थोड़ा सा इसके बारे में बात करी है. जो let's move eastwards, उसके बाद we'll come down to America, फिर ग्लोबल देख के and उसके अंदर भारत का क्या निकलेगा, we'll come down to that. जो आप अगर ईस्टवर्ड जाएंगे, you know, one of the things that you're seeing, पूरा तो एक तो लैंड मास रशिया का है, यूरेशिया, एशिया, if you go. The second जो जियोपॉलिटिकल हॉट ग्राउंड है वो ऑब्वियसली चाइना है. चाइना की तरफ से काफी चक्कर चल रहा है वहां पर, एंड देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ प्ले व्हिच इज हैपनिंग. काउंटर प्ले भी चल रहा है, ऐसी बात नहीं है, देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ काउंटर प्ले व्हिच इज हैपनिंग. बट चाइना की जो एक कोशिश थी कि वो एक G2 में बैठ सके, ठीक है, उनका जो एक नैरेटिव था एक टाइम पे कि यार G2 में बैठना है हमको. इट वाज दैट थिंग ना, G2 एक बनाया था इन लोगों, यूएसए एंड चाइना. वी विल रूल द वर्ल्ड. आप उधर पे देखो, मैं इधर पे देखूंगा, विल कट द वर्ल्ड इन हाफ. एंड अगर चाइना बेवकूफी ना करता, ओवर अग्रेशन ना करता, कोविड ना करता, तो ये प्रीटी मच सेट हो जाता. इफ यू वुड हैव बीन अ नॉर्मल, यू नो, नॉर्मल स्ट्रेट थिंकिंग, नॉट टू अग्रेसिव हेजेमोनिक पावर. अभी ईस्ट में आप क्या देखते हो? बिकॉज यू नो यू आल्सो गॉट दिस वाइल्ड कार्ड. नॉर्थ कोरिया भी है, वहां पर भी एक छोटा सा स्पार्क सा रहता है. बट नॉर्थ कोरिया इज अ, आप सबको पता है कि रशिया का वैसल है. तो इस जगह पे एक जो स्ट्रक्चर निकलेगा, जिस तरह से जो एक ऑर्डर बन रहा है, वो पूरा अभी फिर से हड़बड़ हो गया है इसका. एक जो सेट बैलेंस था कि यू नो रशिया चाइना थोड़ा सा देवर इन टेंस मोड, नॉट वेरी फ्रेंडली. आज वो फ्रेंडली हैं काफी. मैप मैप निकाल देता है वो, ठीक है, गाली पड़ी होगी उसको, बट कोई बात नहीं. कोरिया में चक्कर है, जापान काफी आर्म कर रहा है अपने आप को. तो यहाँ पर क्या आपको दिखता है, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एन ऑर्डर विल बी इमर्जिंग फ्रॉम द ईस्ट, एंड इसमें यूएसए का क्या रोल रहेगा?
If we talk about an if you talk about the eastern part of Asia, the whatever order that comes in is going to be integrated with the rest of the world. Okay, so ऐसा नहीं कि if it's a bipolar world, if it becomes a bipolar world where you have G2, you have a United States, and you have a China, then these two countries would be so powerful for obvious reason. अभी powerful होंगे तभी ना G2 होंगे. These countries would be so powerful that they would not have to be very many people challenging them on their own. For example, North Korea is of little consequence. It's of not much of a consequence apart from being a disruptor and apart from the fact that they can do a whole lot of damage to South Korea. अब साउथ कोरिया को लेके यूएस थोड़ा सा टेंस्ड है because South Korea again is a chip manufacturing wonder. Okay, so US has got no love lost for South Korea apart from the fact that Samsung is there. The same reason why US is so nervous about Taiwan, because you've got TSMC which is there. तो नॉर्थ कोरिया का उस उतना खास कुछ वो नहीं है, इम्पैक्ट नहीं है, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द फैक्ट दैट दे कैन प्रॉब्ली lob a couple of nuclear bombs to South Korea if it comes to that. I have my doubts about it. So eastern side may, coming back to eastern side of the map, if there is a G2, these two nations would be so powerful that you would not have too many of the local players going against them. However, if it is a multipolar world, then the whole game is open. So that's the way I see this situation right now. If it's a multipolar world, then then you have US influence. I wouldn't say led a US influence set of nations. You would have a Chinese influence set of nations. You would have a global South, which is the talk of the town these days. You might have India today is the representative. You might have India as the leader of global South. So you've got three poles. But then again, I have got, when I look at these three sets, or let's say three sets of orders, then these orders have their own pluses and their minuses, which we can talk about a little while later.
Because एक जो I mean ईस्ट में one of the things that is there is that बड़ा delicate सा order है, right? It's not a very concrete order. Even in Europe, जहाँ पर आज जंग चल रही है, there it is a very hard order. It's not a very
because
delicate
because they
order.
were because they were forced to.
Huh.
At the wake of the Second World War, they didn't have a choice. They were too weak, even though they had the basics of industrialization, which helped them turn around and which helped them again get into a phenomenal growth mode soon after 1945 got over and World War got over. Uh, Good example is Germany. Good example is France, etc., etc. In Southeast Asia or in this on the eastern side of Asia, apart from Japan and apart from South Korea, you didn't have very many industrialized countries. So उसको कोई पत्ता नहीं दिया. So imagine in 1945, a Philippines didn't amount to much, or a Vietnam didn't amount to much, or a Singapore didn't amount to much. Ditto for Malaysia and etc. etc. These guys grew over a period of I don't know 10, 20 years post, I think, post 90s, let's say. By that time, then United States was too bereft of good planners, so to speak. By that time, then United States was too steeped into shifting out its production based economy to China for them to sort of register and take a note that we might need these people. By that time, United States was too used to pushing its weight around in the world because 90 ke baad Soviet Union was not there. Again, it brings us back to the global
वही वापस आ
international
जाता है.
order.
हम्म.
And the structural problems. To give you a little bit of an idea about what are the structural problems of this international order, bird's eye view, global liberal international order is basically a reactive order. Now, that might surprise a lot of people, that might surprise a lot of viewers. Why I call it a reactive order is, it came in as a reaction to communism. Hear me out on this one. I know
An opposite.
don't, yeah, I mean, we don't like communism. We've got our own reservations against it, and rightfully so, because the practical, utility of
Implementation
communism,
has been horrible.
yeah, जितना कम बोला जाए उतना ही अच्छा है. But the fact is, because communism was based on class conflict, an awareness building about class conflict, communism was the first true international, ये बोल सकते हो 19 मतलब mid 20th century का order. Because ग्लोबल लिबरल इंटरनेशनल ऑर्डर कैसे आया यार, बिजनेस करना है, ट्रेड बढ़ाना है, बॉर्डर खत्म कर देना है, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला. बट कम्युनिज्म, while accepting the fact that yes, there exist different nations, took into account the fact that as long as a society is industrialized while growing rich, there is a class that suffers, and this class is irrespective of whichever nation you are in, and this was a fact. So people found a lot of logic in communism. So उस हिसाब से देखो तो communism becomes the first international order. Now, Second World War के बाद, when Soviet Union was emerged though they were very weak and they were like devastated in the World War, but ideologically they were very strong, and Iron Curtain came and blah blah blah, whatever happened. The West was at loss as to, here we have a socialist slash communist based order which is appealing to, which lot of people, lot of countries are finding very appealing, especially countries that are like freshly independent countries like India and all. You all know Nehru ka socialistic policies. तो इसको लेके क्या किया जाए? And that is the point when they started their cultural therapy during the time of the Cold War. A brilliant book is The Cultural Cold War by Francis Saunders. Okay, so your readers can read. So where they started treating European people to a particular message therapy, a message therapy, not massage, message therapy, that everything is good about capitalism and everything is bad about communism. And people fell for it. Thus, the United States managed to establish a counter order, an order that was a counter to the universal communism order, whatever that was. So now you have to understand that global liberal international order came as a reaction to communism. It was not created out of thin air. The moment it came as a reaction to communism, you've got a balance of power that got established. थोड़ा सा झटका first लगा when industrial communism faded away. This
Hmm.
balance of power got completely disfigured when Soviet Union fell down, when Soviet Union imploded. Now, it's like yin and yang. एक तो चला गया, दूसरा क्या करेगा? You came into existence solely because you had a communism. You had to balance it out. People found, whoever found Western order appealing, found Western order appealing because they were putting it against the backdrop of communism, and they were seeing all that is bad about communism vis-a-vis all that is good about capitalism.
Hmm.
Now you suddenly don't have communism. So what is it that you're going to pit that global liberal order against and find out what is good about it? Suddenly global liberal order realized that there is no universally acceptable ideology. Because communism did not exist, people started disliking global liberal order. Why? Because of because of their porous border. Because तब के 1945-46 में न्यू कंट्रीज गेटिंग इन कमिंग इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस, कंट्रीज गेनिंग देयर फ्रीडम, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, बहुत होगा, बहुत कुछ प्लान होता है, जैसे हम लोग का भी होता है ना। अभी जॉइंट देंगे, अभी आईआईटी जाएंगे, अभी आईआईएम करेंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे, 2-4 साल पढ़ाई करने के बाद पता चलता है कि भाई उतना ईजी नहीं है जितना सोच रहे हो, तब फिर सोचते हैं चलो ग्रेजुएशन कर लेते हैं। इट्स लाइक दैट. So these countries that came into existence during that wake of Second World War, 1945, 48, 50, India was one of them. They had a lot of plans. Couple of years into existence, they realized that okay, I mean, the world is not as flowery as it looks. When you realize that the world is not as flowery as it looks, then what happens is that sense of nationalism keeps creeping back. The moment you have this first seed of a hint of regionalism, a hint of nationalism, a hint of my country, my state, etc., etc., that is the moment you start disliking the porous border ka funda. At the other end, you've got a United States-led Western order which doesn't want border, जिसके लिए नेशन स्टेट्स रहेंगे, सिर्फ नाम का रहेंगे, बाकी जो हम लोग बोलेंगे वो चलता रहेगा. But
सड़क पे जो मर्जी हो.
yeah, but you don't like it because you are a regional power. You've got your own culture, you've got your own history. You're not willing to let that go. If you're deracinated, fine. If you're not deracinated, then you would not want to do away with whatever identity you have.
Exactly.
This is one of the reason why these people found out that global liberal order ka abhi jo ideology hai, it is not universally accepted. The next thing that came in is internet. The
That's
sudden, oh yes, this is a major game changer. I mean, this is probably the biggest game changer. अभी chip technology ये वो बोलते रहते हैं, but net has been the biggest game changer. Net में क्या हुआ? Interconnectedness बढ़ गया. The moment interconnectedness बढ़ गया, this regional interconnection that started happening. So you had a great example. You had the ASEAN states, the Southeast Asian tigers. It is purely as a consequence of internet. So interconnectedness जब भी बढ़ गया, then there was this attempt to create regionalism. Rise of regionalism, rise of regional interest, rise of nationalism, rise of national interest in accordance to history and local culture and local whatever is a direct threat to globalization, is a direct threat to global order. So structurally, we are at the structural issue. So structurally, global order has been a problematic affair. Why? Because it was created to counter a certain thing. That thing does not exist anymore.
What does it get applied to now?
Yes. Now, ideally speaking, you should have pulled in your Brzezinski and your Kissinger and your Kinnan, and you should have rushed back to the drawing board, and you should have created something different. Put your thinking cap on, create something which has got that universal appeal कि boss, ये तो हम जीत गए, Cold War हम जीत गए, अभी आगे कैसे क्या करना है. Instead, what this global order guys tried to do that, they went on steroids. They started मतलब acceleration इतना दबाया, उसका धंधा एक ही था, कैपिटल मूव करो अपना पावर सेंटर में. By that time, then they had already shipped their productive economy to China and all the Southeast Asian countries.
वो तो
okay,
दबा हो चुका था उसके बाद तक तो.
Exactly. Financial speculative economy के ऊपर बेस करके they are like playing oligarchs. Then suddenly they realize that it is not about consumer power anymore, it is about productive power. By that time, it was too late. Production power लेके साउथ ईस्ट एशिया बैठ गया तब तक. And United States and the West, EU has been reduced, have had been reduced to a position of consumer.
And
So,
services, insurance.
and yeah, service, finance. And so, in a way, what happened was they went the communist way. They became a mirror image of communism. कम्युनिज्म में क्या था, गवर्नमेंट सब ले लेगा फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल. यहाँ पे क्या होगा, ओलिगार्च सब ले लेगा फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल.
50% income tax in European Union.
Yeah, imagine that. So either way, common man, तुम मरो, तुम्हारे लिए कुछ नहीं है, तुम मर जाओ. So now
प्रॉब्लम
हाँ, बोलो.
इसमें, सॉरी बट एक चीज आप कवर करो व्हिच आई वांट टू ऐड. आपने ये पूरा समझाया व्हिच इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग, एंड आपने ये भी नाउ आई थिंक मेरे को आई वांटेड टू आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन कि ये देखो जो द शिफ्ट ऑफ द वेस्ट टू अ वेरी sublime communism आज जो है, इट्स एन अथॉरिटेरियन कम्युनिज्म. आप बोलो जेंडर कितने हैं, 2, तो आप तो राइट विंग एक्सट्रीमिस्ट हो गए वहां पर ही. ठीक है, the minute you say 2, you become a right wing extremist. If you say fine, there's 2 and there's a third gender, you're still a right wing extremist. Okay, so what I'm trying to come to is that the structural deformity of the Western system, जो आज आप देख रहे हो, drugs, individualism, which is a individualism as a concept थोड़ा opposite है communism के, क्योंकि that they, I don't know if you remember, there used to be a joke in the Soviet Union ki, जब the Soviet Lenin wanted to make something called the Soviet man, no race, no nothing. So when the Soviet Union broke, people asked them, where's the Soviet man? They looked around and said, that guy is Latvian, that guy is Lithuanian, that guy is Ukrainian, that guy is Polish, but there was no Soviet man. तो individualism जो एक create करना था, जो आप बना रहे हो, me, myself and I don't care about this, I don't care about my family, मेरा जो मर्जी है, it's just me, myself and I, मेरा जो ये है, this is a breakdown of the society itself. इससे क्या benefit मिल सकता है to a continuation of the global order जो ये लोग, इन लोगों के दिमाग में होगा, which is something I'm not able to place. Why? Because आप अपनी society तोड़ रहे हो. That society is the one that you're basing your power on at the end of it. Right? What is your continuation plan?
There's no continuation plan as such. See, the idea is to break. Why are they introducing all this fancy genders and so on and so forth? The first thing that they hit was your family. First thing that they hit was your community. Okay. Then they hit your family. अपना जो joint family था उसको खत्म करके nuclear family किया. Then they hit you and create a rift between your parents. How do they do it? In a very nice way. यार 18 साल के हो गए, it's time for you to be financially independent, go get lost, earn your own money and all. And parents are pretty gung-ho about the whole thing. Won't blame them, because the idea is presented in a manner that it appeals to people. So this guy gets out of his house at 20 years old, he finds out a job, he starts earning. Why is it essential? If I am a capitalist, why is it essential for me to push this guy out? Because कल को वो जाके कुछ खरीदने का सोचेगा, उसके घर में वो 3-4 उसका पिताजी है, उसका ताऊ है, उसका ये है, वो है, उससे उसको गाली पड़ेगा. Tomorrow, if he's out on his own and he doesn't have anybody to answer to, then he is free to buy whatever he wants to. So this is promoting consumerism. So I break the family. Then what I do is I hit the institution of marriage, where pehle marriage hota tha, it was a lifetime affair. Well, I say that, women's right, this, that, falana, dhimkana, you're free, you are a free individual, there's always a divorce, so take a divorce. So I break your community, I break your family, I break your parent and kya bole, children bond, I break the husband and wife bond. Abhi kya raha? Abhi I have an individual. How do I break that? I create confusion in his mind about his identity. So now this bugger is confused. He doesn't know whether he's a man or whether he's a woman or whether he's a light post. Why am I doing this? Is I am hitting the person's absolute fundamental capacity to think. The end objective is to reduce him to just a consumer so that I can sell some more to him product. I can sell products to him. That is one. Tomorrow, if this guy is incapable of thinking, which they are, I can sell my ESG program. I can sell my global governance. I can ask him to put a bloody mask and pretend that COVID is chewing him. I can vaccinate him 15 times if I want to. I can put a chip in his up his ass if I want to, excuse my language. I can do anything with him because he doesn't have an opinion, because he doesn't know who the hell he is.
Hmm.
So it is control. So ultimately, my aim is that I am creating a bunch of sheep across the world who are absolutely under my control. So कल को मेरे को सिविल वार कराना हो, कल को मेरे को वैक्सीन लगाना हो, कल को मेरे को ये सबको कन्फाइन करके घेटों में रखना हो, where I have the roads to myself, me and my Lamborghini, and I am driving while you are there sweating somewhere in some sweatshop, uh, you know, uh, 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 literally begging for a living. You are under my control. You wouldn't bother to raise your voice because you don't have a voice, because you don't know what to raise your voice against, because you don't have an idea. You have no concept of something which is bigger or better than you or larger than you, because it is you yourself with your confused gender and your ideology and half cooked knowledge. This is the best, this is the best kind of a crowd that I would want to control, boss. So in a way, this is good for the global order, whichever global order comes in. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, because that's a bit confusing. And one thing is going to be there, that there has to be a perpetuation system that they're trying to create. देखिए ऐसा है, कोई भी चीज आपने 200-400 साल से खड़ी करी है, उसको आपको एक एक जगह पे लेके जाना है. एंड
Hmm.
मैं एक तरह से देखता हूँ, क्योंकि देखिए वन ऑफ द थिंग्स आई लुक एट इज वेरी वेरी सिंपली, is that when you have these churns in society, right? If you look at the 1920s, 30s, right? 20s, 30s, early 40s, there was a churn in the society, leave alone the war. ठीक है, जस्ट बिफोर द वॉर तक की बात करते हैं.
Hmm.
एक सोसाइटी के अंदर चर्न था. क्या था? पहले ग्रेट डिप्रेशन हुआ, उसके अंदर आपका लिटरली सोसाइटी गॉट ब्रोकन डाउन कंप्लीटली. ठीक है, उसके बाद देयर वाज राइज ऑफ आइडियोलॉजीज दैट केम अक्रॉस. सो इट टुक द breakdown of society both in America and Europe for the rise of a certain new ideology. Now, that
Hmm.
ideology were two. One was the fascism that came in, National Socialism, and
Socialism.
second was the democratic world order,
Hmm.
right? So,
Hmm.
a lot of people call this the doom game, that Americans will never be able to come out of it, or the West will never be able to come out of it. My view is to equate it with what happened about 100 years ago. They did this to their societies 100 years ago to come up with something new,
Hmm.
a renewed system, because the current system doesn't work.
Hmm.
So you got to put your populations into such a point where everything breaks down, then you can rebuild it up. As they
So
say,
you,
wars are the best way of changing the world order. So if wars are the best way of changing world order, chaos is the best way of changing your domestic order. My question is, do you see an end game here? I'm
for you,
starting to see something, but I can't ideate it right now. It's difficult.
I, if I were to evaluate your question, if I were to evaluate the point of view, it sounds pretty optimistic to me. United States or West doesn't have an end game in sight. If you are looking at a complete breakdown of societal order for something new to be created, trust me, that is not going to be coming from the western side of the map. That is going to come either from China or from Russia or from Iran or from India. I don't know. But the global liberal order has been so focused on that 99% versus 1%, and for which एक बात समझो यार आदि, ये लोग ये 99% को देयर आइडियोलॉजी हैज ऑलवेज बीन विन लूज. 1920s में क्या था, 1930s में क्या निकला, you had 2 3 world wars, but you have to remember one thing, that there were great many thinkers right from 1850s, 1860s, 1890s, okay, whose theories, whose political philosophies, they influenced these people a lot, where you had a constructive order that was, if I could call it constructive order, that got created, no
Hmm.
matter how much of problems were there, but some semblance of a world order was there. 45 to 90 were the most peaceful times of our lives. Kuch flare up kuch nahi hua apart from their posturing and all. So on the whole, Cold War time was good. Now these guys don't have anybody who's got a foolproof bhi chodo, who's got a plan, a semblance of a plan. That's one thing. The only other thing that comes to my mind when I look at a Europe and its woke societies, and when I look at United States and their woke societies, the only one thing that comes to my mind, no matter how much ever one dislikes China, no matter how much ever one dislikes Russia, you've got people who are very clear about their identity, their place in history, their culture. Till the time you have a set of people who stand up, and they don't have to necessarily push against the rest of the world, till the time you have a set of people who stand up and are noticed, nothing is going to change. That's where building that identity as far as India is concerned becomes very important. That's why building that identity as far as, China or Russia, as I said, becomes very important. And I see, if I am to see a little bit of a ray of hope, I would see it coming from this end of the map and not from
See,
United States, because
that I agree with, because if you look at China also, I mean,
Hmm,
जो चाइना ने अपनी society, what they did with their society, what they're still doing to their society, the removal of the old fours and bringing of the new fours, they destroyed their entire culture, right?
hmm,
So the two countries where I see the semblance of an ancient culture still continuing, one is us, of course, because if you look at just a simple thing like marriage, जो जिस तरह से शादी पहले होती थी, अब थोड़ा यार धूम धड़ाका चेंज हो गया, but the basic ritual is still the same. Fire, Saat Feras, and this has been going on for centuries and millennia probably. So
thousands
that
of years.
semblance of culture which is continued is only two places. That's the
Hmm,
same thing in Russia. They had an advent of Christianity that went across their country, which is Orthodox and this and that, but they've got their predominant I won't call it Viking, but Slavic sort of a culture which is
Slavic.
there,
Yeah.
right? Which has a lot of influence from the Vikings and stuff like that from the 9 10 8 9 10 century. तो उनका एक स्ट्रक्चर है वो. तो मेरे को तो ये दो जगह दिखता है, बिकॉज अफ्रीका को तो आपने बर्बाद कर दिया पूरी तरह से. You've ruined that entire basic. You've ruined South America. ठीक है. And the reason why did I ask you that question, that out of chaos create something. If you look at the Middle East today, जो आपने इराक के साथ करा है,
Hmm.
Iraq was a mistake that was made after the Second World War. आपने जो बाउंड्री इराक की बनाई थी, that was a mistake. You forgot the Kurds, right? For 70 years you forgot them and they kept crying about it. You look at Pakistan today, जो आपने बाउंड्री बनाई है, none of them agree to it. ठीक है? So these
Hmm.
are few places where I see Iraq, the question is now settling. Kurdistan is pretty much there, not yet recognized, but Iraq का मुंडी कट गया ऊपर से.
Hmm.
So they out of that chaos of ISIS, war, complete breakdown of the society, they rebuilt a country now. To
Because
a
the
point
will
that
was there, Adi. Sorry to
that's
interrupt,
what I'm
because the
asking.
will was there. Yeah.
Hmm.
और
Hmm.
यहाँ पे we have broken down. I'm talking about the United States elite, the West elite. They have broken down the society so much that these guys don't know which day of the week it is. कहाँ से
Yeah.
तुमको will आएगा यार?
I don't know what's the end game, but I'm looking at an answer. Nobody would
The,
want to
you,
destroy their own country, right? So there has to
you,
be a reason why they're doing it.
see, your answer is not going to come from, as I said. Acha, let me answer. Nobody is going to want to destroy their country only if you consider that country worth preserving. If let's be
Fair
very
enough.
honest, कुछ कुछ नाम है जो हम यहाँ पे नहीं ले सकते, जो हम पॉडकास्ट से
हाँ,
पहले बोल रहे थे
द
कि
होल
बोलेंगे
ग्लोबल
तो यार,
स्ट्रक्चर वो जो हाँ,
हाँ बोलेंगे
ये
तो
सुपर
यार
डुपर डीप
चैनल,
स्टेट।
हाँ, मैं बता रहा हूँ कि यार व्हाई डू आई नीड दिस पीपल to fight my war? I have proxy armies. I have used ISIS. I have used Al Qaeda. I have used Taliban. I have used Ukraine. I have used
एवरीवन।
paid mercenary. I have used Blackwater. Blah blah blah. I have used Europe. जहाँ पे भी हो मैंने कर लिया. I have got people who I am enlisting in the army. They are fighting my wars. I have got my business interests all around the world. I have got a global conglomerate which is controlling everything. एक एक पैसा आ रहा है जा रहा है. I have the global economy in my control. The world is running on my currency. Why do I need my population? First tell me that. I would save you, I would salvage you, I would recreate you as long as I consider you important. First second world war के टाइम में population was important because it was a productive economy. सब तो मैंने शिप कर दिया चाइना में. What
वो
do
भी
I
भाग
need?
रहा है। वो भी भाग रहा है।
हाँ, भाग भाग रहा है लेकिन आ कोई नहीं रहा है. आई हैव टू रेसल इंडस्ट्रीज फ्रॉम जर्मनी एंड फ्रॉम फ्रांस एंड फ्रॉम इटली ड्यूरिंग यूक्रेन वॉर टू रीपॉपुलेट माय प्रोडक्टिव इकोनॉमी इन यूएसए.
Yeah.
वहां पे भी मुश्किल है बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव दैट स्किल्ड लेबर. जिसने 50 साल काम नहीं किया वो क्या काम करेगा अभी, उसको तो पता ही नहीं क्या करना है. सो व्हाट डू यू डू विद अ पॉपुलेशन? यू डोंट नीड दैट काइंड ऑफ अ पॉपुलेशन. Only when you start looking at it from this angle, that perhaps the deep state, perhaps the administration, perhaps the political leaders, they don't need this kind of a population कि वो लोग जिए मरे मेरे को कुछ नहीं फर्क पड़ता. That is when you would understand that the fact that this does not need to have an end game. End game वहीं से निकलेगा जहां पे population को importance दिया जाता है, which is probably a Russia or a China or even a Middle East and India and things like that. Europe is trying, to be honest, Europe is trying, but Europe has got its hand tied so badly कि यार वो कुछ कर नहीं पाएगा. You think
Europe is Europe only till the time the American forces are there. The American forces leave, they'll kill each other.
Oh God, no, but
I mean,
they're still trying. I mean, there are some times when there are a certain a couple of slips that you get to watch when you're watching a Macron and when you're watching people, Meloni and all. They're trying, but their hands, as I said, global elites
yeah.
ने उसको टाई करके रख दिया यार.
अब आते हैं,
They cannot.
let's come to
Huh?
our beautiful nation.
All right.
Newfound game in town. Whatever said and done, a lot of people didn't think that you could do what you've done. And whatever we've done is impressive. There is no question about it. For a country like ours, 10-15 साल पहले तो बोलते थे 100 में से 99 बेईमान, फिर भी मेरा भारत महान. That
नहीं
was the
सुनाई नहीं दिया.
narrative, that
For a
was the
country like
dialogue.
us.
20 साल
No,
पहले
I.
आपका डायलॉग क्या होता था? 100 में से 99 बेईमान, फिर भी मेरा भारत महान. Right? If you look at one little thing, that the switch of the international perception, forget the हमारा जो अंदर पे हो रहा है, that is political, whatever it is, that's fine, and we can find our faults within ourselves 3000 times. मैं बोल रहा हूँ जो बाहर लोग बोल रहे हैं आपके बारे में, they are talking about a very clear structure which is coming up with you, and I keep saying this. Nobody's, people give dialogue, India has already become leader of global south and this and that. But the structure is with you, and that's a very different way of looking at things. आप बोल रहे हो यार मेरे पीछे मत चलो, मेरे साथ चलो. Let's all grow. Right? Whatever I have, I'll give you. Vaccines, help here, there. Now that's a very interesting way of coming up into the world screen. आप देखो एक अमेरिकन हेजेमनी थी which is based on military power and raw financial power. China, which tried to do it, it's failed, and now it's literally, I think the peak is already over. It's on its way back down. It tried to do it with financial power and, I won't say military power, but coercion, gray zone,
Military power, it's like, yeah,
gray zone.
complete
I'll,
finance,
I'll
yeah.
do this to you. The threats of war.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are coming out with a very different, very inclusive sort of a narrative, right? How do you see the rise of Bharat? Have we come at the right time where something like this was needed, or are we about 10, 15 years too late?
The rise of Bharat is a little late. The policy that we are employing right now has come in the right time. India
Okay, that's interesting.
had a India had a huge amount of potential. One reason why, despite being dirt poor and despite being independent in like at the end of Second World War, you still had people like United States taking so much of interest in you. The
Offering you
fact
the
is that,
Security
yeah,
Council seat.
या कभी सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल बनाने के लिए बोल रहा है, कभी बोल रहा है यार हम लोग के ग्रुप में आ जाओ, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला. इट्स ओनली व्हेन वी सेड नो नो वी डोंट वांट, तभी ना उसे जाके पाकिस्तान को बोला. India's had geopolitically, geostrategically, for United States, India had an incredible importance as far as the concept of rimland is concerned. Again, going back to Nicholas Spikeman and his rimland theory, uh, rimland is the land that surrounds the world island. Okay, so you had Halford Mackinder's concept of a world island, which is basically, heartland. Sorry, Halford Mackinder's concept of a heartland. Whoever rules heartland rules the rest of the world. And you had Nicholas Spikeman back in 1940 who came up with the idea कि ठीक है यार तुम heartland पे access ना करो कोई बात नहीं, you take care of the rimland, which is the outer edge of the heartland, which includes countries like Iran and India, etc., etc. Now, India, by virtue of being a rimland power, India had this tremendous maritime potential, which India did not utilize because India was too busy with its like overplaying its Pakistan threat and so on and so forth. India could not utilize it because India did not allow United States to. I mean, India did not want to become a part of United States' group alliance. United States अगर रहता तो maritime prowess में India सबसे पहले जाता इस area में, and even China wouldn't have been able to match it today. But anyway, जो होना था वो हो गया. So there was a policy problem. For example, कश्मीर को ले जाना यूनाइटेड नेशंस में किसने ले गया था? हमने ले गए थे. कश्मीर को
So
यूनाइटेड
that
नेशंस में
is,
ले गया.
yeah,
Yeah,
useless times.
but that is where the problems came in, and they came in such a way that that kept us bogged down, bogged down, bogged down. अगर वो नहीं रहता तो India's rise would have been a little, you know, अभी
Sooner.
अभी नहीं होता तो 10 साल पहले होता. Yeah, the policy, the kind of approach that India is taking is a pretty fresh and a damn good approach, I would say. But there are problems there, because again you have to understand that realistically, I mean, if we talk about real politics, if we talk about the hardcore facts on ground, the world is used to existing in a particular way, जहाँ पे you've always had this anarchic kind of a structure where each and every nation states are supposed to be parallel, but you always had a class bully who would rise up and who would dominate others in the class.
That's the way of the world, huh?
That's the way of the world. So now you've been, ठीक है, you forget about 18th century and 17th century. Let's consider the last one and a half century. This is how we've been existing. So where there is a constant power play, where there is a constant game of I'm like access and control, and I'm trying to dominate you, I'm trying to arm twist you, I'm trying to push you into war, I'm trying to create ruckus for you. I rise when you fail. So this kind of a win-lose is something which the world is used to over the past 150 odd years. यहाँ
That's
पे
why you got,
आके
yeah. Hmm.
यहाँ पे आके you suddenly there is this country which is talking about win-win. It is too good to be true. So the credibility factor could be a issue here. And B is, if you're talking about a win-win, again, going, I mean, क्या बोले, borrowing that phrase from you, show me the end game, कहाँ तक ले जाओगे इसको.
इसके अंदर एक ही है ना, विन विन के चक्कर में थोड़ा सा गंदा भी दाग पड़ जाता है ना, कनाडा. Those are good things that happen. So, showcase of hard power.
हाँ, so
Jokes
अब,
apart, I mean,
so जहां तक विन विन का सवाल है, a little bit of hard power is required.
yeah,
If I am talking about,
you have a point.
if yeah, if I'm talking about something like, let's say, if I'm talking about on Africa, ठीक है, India has got India has got a unique advantage because India is a consumption driven economy. United States is a different economy, export driven economy, they're exporting guns and they're exporting whatever. China is an export driven economy, they're exporting everything under the sun. India is a consumption driven economy. That is why we are pretty insulated from the rest of the world. तो वो global meltdown हम लोग को ज़्यादा affect नहीं करता है. As a consumption driven economy, there are certain economic parameters which need to see good amount of growth, which India has demonstrated. We are in a stable position, and left on our own, we can survive like this. Now, the global south that we are talking about, the people that we are playing win-win with, are they also the same kind of economies? Probably they haven't managed to decide it as yet.
As yet. So you'll need to
Yes.
show the way.
You need to show the way of economic consumer economy बनाने के लिए, consumption economy
Internal
बनाने के लिए,
consumption economy, हाँ जी.
हाँ, बनाने के लिए there has to be a certain level of economic development in those countries, जो अभी
वो तो
तक
चाइना
हुआ
में नहीं
नहीं
हो
है.
पाई अभी तक. वो तो चाइना में नहीं हो पाई अभी तक.
Exactly, that eastern strip of China is all glitz and glam, and the moment you move into west, हालांकि अभी कर रहा है, but yeah, in terms of
मुश्किल है.
volume vis-a-vis infrastructure development, when you look at the rest of China, apart from the eastern seaside, it's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about Africa. I'm talking about a lot of other nations which want to be a part of, which think they're a part of the global south. ये लोग का economic level अभी उस level पर तक नहीं पहुंचा है जहां पे they become a consumption driven economy. Now, India is a consumption driven economy which has got a certain amount of military might also, which got demonstrated in Galwan, and where nobody was there to help you, and you stood up, you did your surgical strike, people took a note of you, things have happened. So what happens is, you can talk win-win only when you're economically strong and you've got an army backing you up, which is pretty strong. नहीं तो तुम win-win लेके क्या करोगे? तुम्हारा win-win. So now India is in a position which is pretty unique as far as playing this win-win game is concerned. I would say it's been incredibly good of India. Instead of arm twisting like a USA or arm twisting like a China, you've decided to take it the other way around. But since we are talking about creating influence group in this world, because that's how global orders are created. So America has its so America has its own influence group, whether they like it or not. They don't have a choice. They stick around with him. China has its own influence group in China, in Russia, etc., whether they like it or not. Today, you've got the Southeast Asian countries who's saying that, a lot of them are saying that, we don't have a dog in your fight as far as USA and China are concerned. हम लोग को यहीं पे रहना है, China के साथ business करना है. So push comes to shove, we don't know what we're going to do. So probably they're going to side with China if this Taiwan flare-up happens. Okay, because again, United States उस पार में है यार, हमको कौन बचाएगा चाइना से? तो यहाँ पे तो आके हमको, so they are undecided. So that's what I said, that India is in a unique position. Now, if you want to create your a peer group where everybody is playing win-win with each other, so these countries also need to have reached a certain economic stage, and they need a certain amount of hard clout, which they don't have. So this is the challenge. So the game sounds very good. Yeah. So it sounds very good. It looks very good. It's an absolute fresh approach. I have always been in awe of Mr. Jaishankar and his faculty, basically. That's one cool customer. वो आप भूल जाओ वो छोटा मोटा short videos and all, you forget all of those things. Those are mileage seeking clips and all. But the guy
have to look at the larger picture. The guy has a lot of depth.
Yeah, he's That's what I'm saying, that I'm in awe of that person.
Hmm.
Planned a brilliant thing, transactional dealings the India way, which is fine. But if you, but there is a, to cut a long story short, we've got a we've got a long way to travel. Do
Oh
we have
yeah,
a
the task
blueprint?
is not easy. The task is not easy. You're gonna be see one thing I keep saying on my channel whenever I do these dives on geopolitics is that boss, you're at a place you have to win every battle. If it's BRICS, you gotta win it. If it's G20, you gotta win it. If it's UNGA, you gotta win. You just gotta win. हर चीज जीतनी है आपको.
Keep winning. Yeah.
You have to keep winning because that is how the confidence of India will go up. There is just
And
no
the other
question about it.
nations, yeah, and the other nations. And ठीक है, एक आधा lose करो, not a problem. But
वो
those
ठीक है, but
losses
it
should
has to
be
be
insignificant ones.
insignificant.
You can't afford to lose. Yeah, you can't afford to
You have to
lose a
choose to lose.
major game. Yeah,
हाँ,
and you
choose
have
to
to pick up the
lose.
fights. You have to pick up your fights. You can't go around fighting with everyone on everything. You have to pick up the fights that you can win, or at least those that you can turn around
And
and you can position yourself as
demonstrate
in
a,
advantage.
yeah. I think Canada was a good example for that.
Yeah.
चलो, let's get into some questions. We've had a nice discussion. There काफी सारे questions हैं. We've got more than 1,200 people watching us. Guys,
Wow.
please like the video, subscribe to the channel. अगर नहीं करा है आप लोगों ने, काफी सारे नए लोग आज दिखे हैं. Please subscribe, right? And you can contribute towards the Dev Talks effort. The QR code is up there, or become members, or send us super stickers, super chats. We've got 4 new members that have joined in today. So that's Ramesh ji, thank you so much for joining in. Ravi Singh ji, thank you so much for joining in. Ami, thank you so much for joining in. And Arjun ji, thank you so much for joining in. Jyotish, thank you so much for your contribution. Okay, first question, Ravi Chand. India is usually smart in recent times on picking sides. Armenia seems to be an aberration. We have supplied Swati radars and 88GS, and they've kind of lost this thing. What do you say about that?
Again, as I said, India's approach has been a little different. India is like kind of siding with somebody who's not in a very good position. And if, for
Mm,
example, I mean, my thing is, if anybody questions, let's say, Mr. Jaishankar on this, he would have a very smart reply to this, that you've got an orchestra. I mean, this is not what he's going to say, but the fact is, India's point of view could be that you've got an orchestrated fight there somewhere, and there are 4 or 5 big bullies who are beating up somebody. We are only trying to sort of help them prop up their defense structures, nothing more.
nothing more than that.
And geopolitically, why India is doing, hoping against hope that if Armenia survives this, then India has a good thing. India and Iran would have a good thing going against Turkey there, because Turkey is backing Azerbaijan.
Ji. Dilip Bara, he says, what India is thinking and doing is the right time. यही समय है भारत को go ahead. Timing is actually, if you look at what he's trying to say, let me just expand this here.
Yeah,
This is going to be a time because right now there is an actual geopolitical world order change, a shift.
changing. Yeah,
So this is actually the right time. There's just no question about it. What do you say?
yeah. Absolutely. This is a time. This is a transition time, and this probably wouldn't have happened. And India has been absolutely brilliant in picking up this opportunity. दो चीज हुआ है, one तो कोविड हो गया and दूसरा is Ukraine war हो गया. And Ukraine war and subsequent freezing of Russian asset is like kind of opened a lot of eyes. That is where all these BRICS and parallel talks of creation of your currency and sanctioning countries, United States sanctioning countries that they don't like. This kind of sort of catalyze this process that abhi we need to create something which is over and above the support structure which United States and the West has provided us. And is time mein advantage lena, of course luck has played a major role, because China was a little on the back foot in this past 2-3 years, owing to COVID and owing to their strict COVID policy, and owing to the fact that suddenly the rest of the world started waking up to the fact कि यार ये तो कुछ बोल के पैसा दे रहा है और कुछ बोल के पैसा ले रहा है. Debt trap diplomacy. Okay, so the world is already 50 years old into this business of understanding US and their game. The world has suddenly woken up to the fact of China and its debt trap diplomacy. This was actually a very good time. People
Hmm.
who are in the thick of things, the external affairs guys and all, they
I think
were
they read it very
probably,
well. Hmm.
yeah, they read the tea leaves well. They were waiting for something like this to happen. Abhi, as I say, as you say, Adi, it's just a good शुरुआत. अभी तो बहुत कुछ करना है. अब पता नहीं आगे जाके कैसा ब्रेन्स आएंगे, ये लेगेसी को कैसे मतलब आगे ले जाएंगे, पता नहीं.
मैं तो बोलता हूँ बॉस, एवरी मल्टीलैटरल जहां पर आप और चाइना बैठे हो, इट्स अ बैटल. कंसिडर इट इज अ डिप्लोमेटिक वॉर. यू हैव टू विन इट. ब्रिक्स हो, G20 हो, जहां पे भी आप दोनों साथ में बैठे हो, यू हैव टू विन दैट.
But the good thing is, you know what? The good thing is, even I think this was Salvatore Barabons or नहीं, वो तो नहीं आया था. I think somebody else. अभी मेरे को याद नहीं है. I would always say that India behaves like Miss Popular in the global circuit, and India, ये मतलब before 10 years ago,
Yeah,
when I
yeah, yeah.
wrote my first book on geopolitics, that this is not a popularity contest. It is a bloody diplomatic daw page going
Real
on in
game.
international arena.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the one good thing is the change of body language which I'm seeing as far as Indian external affairs team is concerned. We don't take shit
correct.
from no one. We are not there to land you up in shit and
We give it for no
unnecessary.
rhyme or reason also. We don't
Yeah,
give it
but
for
we're
no
not.
rhyme or reason also.
But we are not going to take shit from anyone. पहले क्या था?
Yeah,
We would go out of our way to please people. We would bend backwards to please people. We would go to America running for our domestic problems, which comprises of Pakistan sending terrorists into our country. अपने को वो जवाब देने का भी हिम्मत नहीं था. We would go talk to America and say, देखो ना हमको मार रहा है, कुछ करो आप. So
yeah,
that's been a wonderful journey. And as Indians, we should all feel good about it, irrespective of whether somebody likes Modi, doesn't like Modi. I don't care. The fact is
doesn't
that
matter.
you stand up in assertion as a nation. That's an incredible good thing that has happened, and we should accept that, whether we like a
Absolutely,
leader or whether we don't like a leader.
absolutely. Alak Patel, thank you so much for becoming a member. And JP, thanks so much, brother. How will things find its equilibrium? Uttar do Adi. He's a little
Adi
funny,
uttar do.
so yeah,
Things
that
are
answer. तो both of us debated that answer for the last 15 minutes. कुछ निकला तो है नहीं. We both are. It's an evolving thought, yeah. I mean, it's an evolve. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
देखो देखो इक्विलिब्रियम तो नहीं होता है.
Hmm.
रियल वर्ल्ड में इक्विलिब्रियम कभी नहीं होता है.
नहीं होता है.
देयर वुड
नहीं होता.
ना
आज
देयर
तक नहीं
वुड
हुआ.
ऑलवेज
Absolutely.
या देयर वुड ऑलवेज बी, एंड अभी ना होने का चांसेस और ज्यादा है, बिकॉज फिर भी सेकंड वर्ल्ड कोल्ड वॉर के टाइम में देयर वाज अ काइंड ऑफ एन इक्विलिब्रियम बिकॉज यू हैड टू पोल्स. A three polar world can never give you an equilibrium. They can give you a certain amount of stability. Okay,
Or the
wars might,
another
let's say
another way of
wars
a
might,
concept called MAD, of a
mutually assured
different kind,
destruction.
and of a different kind. I mean, that sustained the world order for a little bit,
Hmm.
at least in the Second World War. Sorry, post the
Hmm.
Second World War, that was a
Like
very
Cold War
clear
time.
thing,
Yeah.
right? So for 60, 70 years, in spite of having some 50,000 nukes on the planet, you still sustained it. So that
That
something
sustained
of that
because you
sort
had two
should,
poles. No, that sustained
even
Adi
with,
because you had two powers.
yeah,
What I'm saying is, with three powers, let's assume there's gonna be a West, there's gonna be a China, and there's gonna be a global South. With those three powers, it's always going to be a pull push kind of a game where every negotiation would leave some people happy and some people unhappy.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the fact is that the erstwhile powers like the United States or like China would probably be not as powerful as they used to be to create permanent damage. If you can call it an equilibrium, it is an equilibrium. I don't see it that way, because there would eventually 10, 15, 20 years down the line, the rise of another power who will challenge all this.
Yeah, yeah,
So it
yeah,
is going to
yeah.
go on.
Yeah, it's a game. This will go on
Yeah, yeah,
continuously.
yeah.
Absolutely great. KSV Prasadji, thank you so much. Although it gives me chills, what would have been the consequences if in the past our country had joined US in the bipolar world?
I have an essay on this. I would say share the link with Adi. It came out in the New Indian. And what if India was a US ally? Not much would have changed really. I have gone ahead and I have explained that in that essay. So I'll share it with Adi, and Adi can share it
Absolutely,
wherever
will
you
do.
guys have an access to, you can read it.
I'll put it in the description. So just send me the link.
Right.
Gumnami Babaji, he says Poland will come out of as one of the strongest countries in Europe.
Yeah, George Friedman said that, Robert Kaplan says that, a lot of American analysts say that Poland and Turkey are the ones to watch out for. Turkey is playing their game nicely. Um, all due respect, even though I don't like their leader so much, but ठीक है. Poland, yes, Poland is creating the right noises. Poland is giving the right vibes, to speak in millennial language. Poland shows a lot of promise. Poland is one country which is on the rise, both in terms of economy and in terms of hard power. The only issue that Poland is facing, or Poland might face, is if this Ukraine war, it spills around in the rest of Eastern Europe, then when shit hits the fan, that would be a challenge for Poland. We are yet to see how Poland can handle
Will
it.
react to it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
ABCXYZ question. Hello, Adisa. You're doing a very good job. Thank you. Can you please suggest how to report Khalistani elements around me? I'm a Sikh Canadian citizen, Bharatiya Punjabi born. Can I just take this one if you don't mind? First
Yes,
thing,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
I
Please, please.
just want to take 30 seconds and say this. First and foremost, yeah, any person who's attacking an Indian institution or an Indian citizen abroad, firstly, let's stop calling them Khalistanis. They are the citizen of Canada and USA. They happen to be Sikhs is a totally different story. I don't even believe that they are Sikhs. They look like they're imposters. So let's not please call them what do you call Khalistanis, because there is nothing known as Khalistan. So they are American citizens doing whatever they're doing, or they are Canadian citizens doing whatever they're doing. ये चीज मैंने tweet भी करी है यार. I've pushed it around to everybody. This is something that I personally believe in. As far as reporting is concerned, NIA has a website. You can report and put in your details there, and that can be looked after by them. Uh, Even the Ministry of External Affairs has a website where you can report all these things. So please upload it there. They will help you out. Anything you want to add to this?
No, 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 no. Good that you raised a question like this. I mean, it helps a lot of other people also to understand if they face this kind of an issue. And
Yeah.
yeah, don't delay on this. Please report it up right away.
Sid Ferguson Fredrickson says everything is bad about communism. It goes against the human spirit.
Yeah, but the problem is the communists are not willing to accept that.
They say,
uh,
right, if you're 20 and a if you're 20 and and not a communist, there's something wrong with you. And if
you
you're
have
40
no
and
heart,
still a communist, something
then you
is
have
really
no
wrong
head.
with you. Yeah.
I heard if you have 20 and not a communist, you have no heart. If you're 40 and a communist, you have no brains.
You have no head. Yeah. Sri Hegreji says that is they are reintroducing communism in the name of wokeism. So I think we discussed that.
Yeah, cultural Marxism. That's another interesting subject where we can talk about the Berlin School and things like that. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
so maybe we can talk about it later.
yeah. Gumnami Babaji says Terence McKenna predicted the fall of the establishment due to the internet, their own creation back in the 90s. Which is
Hmm.
true. Interesting
Yeah.
comment. Naveen K says, ask, is there a global order designed by tech giants like Google, Microsoft, Tesla, IBM, who are mastering AI and quantum technology?
No, boss, they are a part of the global order and they are being dictated by the Black Rocks and the vanguard of the world. Yeah, they can put in their 2 cents as far as technological tech innovation, etc., merging of infotech and biotech, etc., is concerned, how to control human mind, so on and so forth. But as far as their global, agenda is being fixed, that is being fixed by the Black Rocks and the vanguards of this world. They don't have a say there. उसको जो बोलने के लिए मतलब करने के लिए बोला जाता है, they'll do that. They can't step out of the line. It stands good for Amazon, stands good for FB, stands good for anyone you care to name. They're completely under the control of BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street, etc., which we discussed in the World Order Wala podcast with Adi.
That's, yeah, I would agree to that. Absolutely. Uh, their media and academia plays a great role in keeping the communism alive today, Dipankar.
Hmm. Yes,
Absolutely true. So
they do that
I'm just
actually.
taking up some very relevant comments that the guys were putting across.
Mhm.
And it tells me guys were really following the discussion with a lot of glee. So that's very interesting. Uh, Gurjot says, will Meloni as a right-wing leader go the entire distance, or she's been restrained by various push and pull national and international factors, or will she bite the bullet no matter whatever the cost?
No, she cannot. She has already started singing a different tone as far as immigration is concerned. She's been taken over. Guys, your favorite Italian leader has been taken over by the global elites.
Yeah, yeah,
She's talked a lot about right wing nationalism and things like that. Now she has started talking about how immigration is good for the country and good for labor and so on and so forth.
yeah. She had a
मैं
huge
जैसे बोल
argument
रहा
with
था
Ursula.
जैसे बोल रहा था ना कि EU on its own, they do, come out with the right noises, but they're too weak on their own to be doing anything like this. They're powerless. चाहते भी
Yeah,
हुए भी तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते वो लोग.
yeah. How will Western Europe change after the forced influx of Islamists? How will US see it?
यूएस को तो अभी भूल जाओ. यूरोप is going to be structurally, devastated.
Their order will be upside down. Nothing else.
Yeah, yeah. But again, in the scope of things, if you again go back to the global order chat between me and Adi, the elites, the global elites who are controlling everything, who are seeing to it, who are cascading this immigration problem, for them, it really doesn't matter, because whoever comes and stays wherever, whether Muslims migrating to Europe, or Africans migrating to America, or Chinese migrating to wherever, they don't give a damn. The control levers are in their hand, and they would keep controlling it. इनफैक्ट देर आर अ कपल ऑफ, आई कैन सेंड यू अगेन, नाम नहीं लेंगे आदि, मैं तुमको एक क्या बोलते हैं उसको, एक आई थिंक आई सेंड अक्रॉस टू यू, वेयर देर आर सेवरल एलीट leaders from a particular sect talking about how Europe needs to be destroyed by pushing in more and more Islamists. तो वो तो है
So
ही.
some other day we
हाँ,
will talk.
yeah.
Yeah,
So there are people who are orchestrating this. There are people who don't give a damn about what happens to Europe.
yeah, absolutely. Priyanka Paudwal, there are two parts, so just bear with me. What can be good model where women can contribute their knowledge and talent in society without giving up on family?
Giving up.
Second, I feel society in total needs to respect the role of women in nurturing a civilized society. Being a stay-at-home wife, we have to stop calculating the value of a personal contribution on the basis of money only. That's true.
Yeah.
But
So she wants
the
how to do that.
the there's the only one thing that I kind of have a bit of a challenge with, and let me just say this out loud, is this whole wokeist movement which has been brought about. I think it's more damaging to the whole women's cause. Because if I mean today I was reading a news where this powerlifting or weightlifting championship, one guy
Hmm.
who identifies as a woman
Woman.
lifted 400 pounds, 400 kgs, took the gold medal and walked off. And there are women standing there like, we can never lift that in our lives. Now that's unfair, So
ये तो
I
अच्छा
think
है,
the
ये तो
whole,
ये तो अच्छा है आदि, कि उसने वेट उठा के चला गया. A couple of months ago or a couple of years ago, there's this guy who started identifying himself as a woman, gets into a mixed martial art ring, and then he breaks the jaw of
can
a
you
bloody
imagine?
female
I mean,
badminton.
that's
Abhi
that's
socho.
that's to me that's I mean, I think if women who are the true feminists need to literally say, "Yaar, ye nahi, ye nahi chalega," Uh, But I don't know this whole thing. These movements, right? The problem with these movements are they're designed to divide rather than unite,
They are
and
designed,
that's
yeah.
they're designed to divide. कि भाई इस ये एक और लाइन है इसके ऊपर सोसाइटी को डिवाइड कर दो, which is to me very very sad. And I mean no disrespect to
See,
anybody, women or men in this particular thing, but it's just sad that you do stuff like this to
you
kind of
fall
create a,
prey to you fall prey to such propaganda. That is another
yeah, yeah, yeah.
very, I find it personally a little irritating, that you've got to be really really short of brain to fall for such kind of tricks. I mean,
Stuff
you've
like
really,
this,
yeah, carry
stuff
on.
like this is not easy to talk about, right? It's
Yeah,
not easy
there's
to talk about because I don't want to end up offending anybody.
एक काम करते हैं आदि, can we do a podcast on cultural Marxism and all, where we can open it up and like from a very neutral perspective, what had happened
Yeah,
actually, the Berlin School of
yeah,
Thought and
yeah,
things like that.
yeah. We
Uh,
could figure that out.
we can do that for people to
Yeah.
understand that where the structurally problem kahan pe hai. Why is probably wokeism or subscribing to too much of woke ideology and too much of LGBTQ
Is
etc
actually
etc
the
is,
same nonsense here.
yeah, it was
Chalo,
brought in with a very sinister agenda. Anyway, let's
yeah.
go for the next
Last
question.
three last three questions. Manjari ji, thank you so much. What will happen to the rise of India if the president leadership is no more in power?
See, there is a concerted effort which is going on as we speak, and trust me, we've got a couple of sources, and Adi also has the sources there, right up to a certain level, that they are trying to leave behind a bureaucratic structure which continues to function, if not with the same amount of efficiency, but at least some amount of efficiency once if things like that happen. लेकिन ये भी है उसको, to get these people into, because bureaucracy, a country bureaucracy is a humongously big structure, especially for a country like India. It is a tall task. Adi, कुछ बोलना चाहोगे? I think you would have a lot of things to say about
I don't
this.
know. For me, this thing is very interesting because when I don't look at it from. I always say this. I don't look at domestic politics because one, I find it to be too pathetic and dirty. I'm sorry if anybody likes it. My apologies. That's just my feeling. Secondly, I think it's designed to keep us Indians looking inwards rather than outwards because the real game is outside.
Mm.
ठीक है, हमारे देश में तो जो हो रहा है वो हो रहा है, वो तो होगा ही. You should know what's happening and you should care for what's happening and do the right thing. There's no question. But I kind of feel that when I look at the geopolitics of the whole world today, nobody wants to bet on a losing horse, right? And the way that the bets are being placed on the current leadership, if you look at the G20, you look at the US establishment, you look at the money, kind of money which is coming in, and the guys who are coming in, BlackRock, this, that, these guys don't bet on losing horses. So for me, that is the thing. And but the danger is with the kind of narratives that you're getting hit by, they would want this guy to be a little meeker and yaar tu baat to sun le yaar. You know, at least
Nika
listen
is
to
under
us.
under
Let's
your
work on things.
control also.
Yeah, they probably understand he's not going to be under their control, but some amount of looseness, some amount of this thing, because right now our responses have been rigid, and
Some
they
amount
kind of
of
yeah.
reciprocity itself is something which they would consider to be control आज के दिन में, खास करके क्योंकि
उससे
because
ज्यादा
they have
मिलेगा
become
भी
very
नहीं ना यार.
they have become very kokla intellectually and
Yeah,
ideologically also.
yeah.
So
So उससे
if they
ज्यादा
get that
मिलेगा भी
kind
नहीं
of
आपको. Hmm.
yeah, please, please, please.
So वो मेरे को, that's what I see of the game, and I'm looking at it from a very geopolitical perspective कि यार दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है उसको देख के you see. अगर आपको इतनी opportunities दी जा रही हैं, this is happening, that is happening, then यार the world is not stupid. Everybody knows क्या हो रहा है दुनिया में यार. I mean, we all know what's happening around us. Like Pakistan, we guys know like the back of our hand क्या होने वाला है वहाँ पर. It's not no jokes. So the greater powers that are looking at you, wanting to invest in you and this and that, they do whole deep studies before they do anything of that sort. That tells me what's coming. I may be right, I may be wrong, but that's how I feel. So, and we'll take the last one. Adi sir, I'm a big fan of you. Thank you so much. Your work on geopolitics. Thank you. Will Russia turn against China? And if yes, will it happen anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. Russia and China do have their structural differences. They don't see eye on a lot of things, but it is because of sheer United States' arrogance in considering them to be two different countries that have sort of clubbed them together in a fashion that they are now rhyming and syncing and creating a lot of resonance. Russia and China would probably turn against each other if their common enemy is like is so weak and is so down that they cannot recover very soon. I don't see that happening so fast so soon. So even though they have their problems, they are not going to be fighting with each other, or not going to be getting into a problem with each other, because they've got bigger fishes to fry right now, and they're very clear on that. Adi, you
Yeah.
would want to add something?
If you read a paper written by a Chinese called The Six Wars of China, if you
Hmm.
go by the timeline there, it's 2060. So
Hmm.
Anyways, Arindam, thank you so
20,
much, brother. This has been. Sorry,
thank you.
please. No,
नहीं,
no,
आई एम सेइंग
20.
2060 तो मेरे को लगता नहीं होगा कुछ.
हाँ, वो उसका एक प्लान है, but
हाँ, हाँ.
I don't
They
think
they
he'll
they
reach
have a
it.
plan. Because see, it's 2023, 2024. By the time the multipolarity settles down, it will be 2030. 30 saal into multipolarity, they won't probably want to take a territorial panga with somebody like Russia, and especially so soon within 1 century of them helping each other out.
Yeah,
And
which is
China has got a lot of other smaller fishes to fry. China would want to take away a little bit of Mongolia. China would want to take away a little bit of maybe India, maybe Pakistan. They're not going to look into Russia that easily, that
yeah, that
fast.
soon. पहले तो यार
Yeah,
ताइवान करना है यार उसको. He has to do Taiwan first यार.
ताइवान करना है.
नाक
Yeah,
कटी हुई
वो
है
भी तो
उसकी
भूल
बेचारे
गए
की.
थे अभी. Yeah, I
70
forgot
साल से
about
लगा
that.
हुआ है, अभी तक तो कर नहीं. एक छोटा आइलैंड तो ले नहीं पाया 70 साल से. रशिया से क्या लड़ेगा, उसको पहले वहां लड़ने दो. कोई बात नहीं, it's okay.
And China, when everything said and done, China का real metal when it comes to battlefield is yet to be seen.
Yeah,
We hear a lot about China technology, China this, China that. Open war में, trust me, if there's any country which knows how to fight, that is Russia. Even probably a United States ground forces are not as effective. वो लोग जाके
no,
ऊपर से
not
बम
at
बम
all.
मारने के बाद they send in their military. But if you're looking at pound by pound fighting capacity, you've got very few states today that can match Russia or probably in Afghanistan. But then again, Afghanistan ka warfare tactics is completely different. So China ki kitna bhi China ka bolo, China is yet to prove themselves as far as an all-out battle is concerned.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Thank you,
right.
Ji. Thank you so much. That was a fantastic
Thank you, Pa.
podcast. We had a lot of people, loads and loads of comments that I couldn't take. Trust you me, when you have the time, have a look tomorrow. You'll be surprised at the kind
Well,
of interaction that we were getting. Thank you so much. See
thank
you
you
next
so
time.
much.
Jai Hind.
Thanks to the viewers. Good night, Adi.
Good night, Ji.